Hello and welcome to the Here We Grow Show, a show specifically designed to bring together community leaders making a difference and share financial strategies so you can plan for and live the retirement lifestyle you've always dreamed. Your host is Amazon bestselling author, president, and founder of Foguth Financial Group, Michael Foguth.
Hi, I'm Michael Foguth. I believe in educating you about information that matters to you and your retirement. Join me this week and every week as we welcome today's leaders in our community, as well as experts in the field of finance and retirement to discuss topics that matter to you today. These discussions can help you make better financial decisions so you can plan for and live the retirement of your dreams. Welcome back, folks, to the Here We Grow radio show. I am your host, Michael Foguth of Foguth Financial Group and of the Here We Grow radio show. I am excited this week because two great things that we're going to be talking about. Number one is the change to Social Security and really the pay raise to Social Security. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, stay tuned as we will get into that. And then we have another great guest, I'm telling you, on the show. You're not going to want to miss this. We have Nanos with the Families Against Narcotics and the unbelievable impact that he's having on the community. And you'll want to stick around for this because he's going to share the story of his son, Yanni. And I'm telling you, when him and I chatted about that, Yanni, his son, is somebody that you would not know that he had an addiction or a narcotic problem if you saw him walking down the streets of Brighton. He was just an everyday kid. So stay tuned for that because that one was, I'm telling you, that one was powerful. So with all of that being said, though, I really want to cover some things on the Social Security here right now because this has been a lot of questions. A lot of things have been coming into our office. A lot of our workshops that we've been doing, people have been raising their hand and saying, hey, I just heard about this, or they saw us on the news or the article at the USA Today. What's going on with the cost of living adjustment, or the short acronym is called COLA, C-O-L-A, cost of living adjustment. Social Security Administration came out and said, we are going to do a 1.3% pay raise. Works out to be about, again, on national average of about $20 a month in what came out. So checks that are going to be starting for your Social Security starting in January of 2021 will receive a 1.3% increase. Now, this increase is just shy of the national average. I should say national average over historical last 30 years is at 1.5%. So again, I get asked this question a lot in the media. We're doing interviews all last week about this. And they said, look, we got all the information, we got all the facts, we got all these other things that, again, I'll cover with you here in a minute. But they said, look, what's the opinion? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? And I said, look, in the economic environment that we are in an unbelievable, crazy time of stimulus and bailouts and recessions and elections and all this wildness that's happening in our economy right now, anytime you can get a pay raise of 1.3%, I would take that with a smile on my face, because at the exact same time that you got a 1.3% increase on Social Security, there very easily could have been a 0%. And a majority of the public would be like, I understand that's it's not the right time to increase it. So with the way that things are going on there right now, I think a 1.3% increase is phenomenal. I think that it's nothing that we should say, hey, this is bad. But just do know that there are still some things that are happening behind the scenes. I'm not saying that this for sure will happen, but there are still things happening out there right now where they're talking about a potential increase to get that closer to a 3%. So, that may still happen. As of right now, when we're recording this, it has not happened. But I think that getting that 1.3 is a big deal. Now, what people do need to be aware of that, because they got this 1.3% increase in their Social Security, we need to update your budgeting for 2021. For those of you out there that don't understand this, please contact our office so we can help you. If you make too much taxable income, your Social Security can be taxed. Folks, that's a big deal, because what I just said is essentially, if you're not paying attention to how your retirement income is being paid out to you, you can be paying 2 taxes on the same $1 bill. So that's a huge deal. So make sure that we understand our budgeting for 2021 needs to reflect. And when I say budgeting, I'm not talking about how much do you spend on coffee or going out to eat. When I'm talking about your tax budgeting. And again, this is very important because if you make too much taxable income, not only could your Social Security amount of money be taxed, your Medicare premiums could be taxed. And so this is just something that we have to take into consideration as things continuously are changing in our economy, changing in our tax codes, changing in Social Security. We're in this open enrollment Medicare. We have so many people right now that we've added this as a resource in our office about Medicare. So we have an opportunity to help people with their Medicare premiums and their health insurance costs. So there's a lot of things out there that we just need to be aware of, that as they change, we change our plans with them. So that's one thing that I'm very proud of our office are able to do is, hey, is when we see these increases, 1.3, whatever it may be on Social Security, that's reflective across the board on your other assets, on your other withdrawals. And all these changes that have happened this year with the CARES Act that was passed. I know we've talked about the CARES Act previously on the show. The Secure Act that passed at the end of last year. All of these things are impacting your taxes, your Social Security, your cost of living adjustments, all of these things, folks. So do me a favor, make sure that we are taking into consideration all of these changes, because it's 1.3% increase this year, but from a budgeting standpoint, and again, don't think of budgeting as how much you spend on coffee or breakfast or taxes or cable bills. Think of budgeting from a retirement standpoint of taxes and your cost of living of what you're going to need. Because here's the thing, the national average, again, historical average on Social Security is 1.5%. So what that means is you should be continuously increasing your Social Security throughout your entire retirement. And so if that's going to continuously be increasing, your required minimum distributions, again, everybody over 72 should know what that means, required minimum distributions. If those are increasing every year, statistically, mathematically are increasing, what that also means is your taxes are going to be increasing. So that's the other thing that I want to wrap up the segment here before we get into our conversation with Mario is the taxes in your retirement, if you don't have a plan, you don't have a tax budget, they will increase in your retirement statistically. You're going to go 1.3% more of taxable income because, again, remember, if you make too much income, your Social Security is taxed. So that just means that that tax could go up. If you have too much taxable income, your Medicare premiums can go up. And the older you get, the IRS is going to require your required minimum distribution to increase on all taxable income. That's going to change. So understand this, folks, that you need to have, we can help you have an understanding of how to reduce and eliminate your taxes in retirement. So let's wrap that up because we don't want to get in too deep into the weeds about taxes today. Today's talk is about Social Security and understanding how that increase will change with your taxes next year. And remember, they did this to us in 2019. They told you about an increase. For those of you who remember, there was I believe it was a 1.7% increase, if memory serves me correct, for your Social Security in 2019 to 2020. So on January 1st of this year, January 1st of 2020, your Social Security paycheck went up by 1.7%. But here's why a majority of you out there listening right now are like, what are you talking about? I didn't get a pay raise this year in Social Security. Well, that's because if you remember, you did get a pay raise. So your taxable income went up by 1.7%. Again, if you make too much taxable income, that goes up. So for those of you who are like, what pay raise are you talking about? Well, the pay raise from 2019 to 2020, you didn't see it very much because they increased your premium on your Medicare from 2019 to 2020. So what ended up happening is they gave you, let's just say they gave you $20 more on your Social Security check, but they took 18 of it back with your increased Medicare premiums per month. So again, why is this a negative? You're thinking, okay, well, if they increase it, they offset. Well, it's not really a bad thing to me. The bad thing to you is you have to claim that increased tax on your Social Security if your income is above, depending on your marital status. I won't get into all those charts, but you should know what that is. So pay attention to those of you out there that are getting a pay raise. How much will you net? More importantly, how much of that increase of 1.3% will stay in your pocket. Because remember what I always love to say, it's not what you earn, it's what you keep. So folks, let's wrap that up on Social Security. Remember, if you have questions on Social Security, if text on or questions on taxes or Medicare, whatever it may be, estate planning, we're here as a resource to you, the community. Just reach out to our office, click on the link of the show notes, go to the website, foguthfinancial.com, go to the HereWeGoRadioShow.com. We are here as a resource to you to answer those questions. I know last week alone, we had 2 separate questions come in after the show requiring some more information on that. So let's not go anywhere, because when we come back, we are going to be talking with Mario Nanos of the Families Against Narcotics, or FAN. He co-founded the Washtenaw chapter here. And again, this is a phenomenal organization that is making an impact positively to our community. And folks, you are not going to want to miss what he talks about and how he was directly impacted and why he said, listen, I have to make a difference, because there's no amount of financial resource. There's nothing out there that's going to make a change unless you're willing to make that change yourself. So folks, don't go anywhere on the Here We Grow radio show. We will be right back with Mario Nanos of the Families Against Narcotics. Again, he co-founded the Washtenaw community chapter here.
When times get tough, who do you have on your team? At Foguth Financial Group, we win.
We win.
We win.
We win.
We win by helping you.
By helping you.
By helping you.
By helping you.
We win by helping you achieve the retirement you've always dreamed of. Clients who work with Foguth Financial Group know they are backed by a solid, experienced, and winning team. It's time to choose your team. Choose the team from Foguth Financial Group.
Folks, well, thanks again for tuning into another great episode of the Here We Grow radio show. I am excited because this week we're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on in Social Security, but a lot about what's going on in our world and with things that are happening really across, I guess, all economic environments and all social environments. And so this week's guest is Mario Nanos, who is in charge and running the Washtenaw Families Against Narcotics, or FAN for short. And Mario, thanks so much for being here, because I know that this is an opportunity to share your story, share what's going on, and really dive in deep with how you guys are helping not only the individuals affected by this, but the families affected by narcotics out there. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Sure thing.
Well, folks, let me kind of give the folks out there that are listening right now a brief background, and I know, Mario, you could probably do it better, so I'll let you piggyback off of this, but Families Against Narcotics was born out of a town hall meeting held in 2007 as a result of 2 teen heroin overdoses just weeks apart in a small middle-class suburban community in Fraser. And all told, this community really had suffered about 30 overdoses in that year, all leading back to heroin. And something was needed to be done. And so, the community, if you will, determined that organizations were going to recruit members really of the community and educate the public about what's happening to our, in our little town, if you will. And again, I come from a small town in Fenton. And I'll tell you what, Mario, before we get into this and you tell me a little bit more about this, I want to tell you my story. And, coming from a small town, I never thought that there, I look at it as like a major drug of heroin would come into our small town. And, let's rewind a few years ago, gosh, probably almost 10 plus years ago, I lost my cousin to a heroin overdose in a small town of Linden, Michigan. And I'm going to tell you, it shocked me to my core, because I was naive enough to think, like, how in the heck could this happen? I saw this, I say kid, he was a kid in his young 20s at family events, everything, again, quote unquote, was normal in my eyes, and never in a million bazillion years would I have thought that this would have happened. And so, it rocked my family, it rocked me to the core, because my little cousin gone way too early from a heroin overdose. And, that's my story. So when I heard that you were coming on the show here today, I said, man, this message has got to get out there, because we can't be we can't be naive. And so tell us a little bit about, I guess, Mario, the actual organization that you guys are running down there in Washtenaw, because so many of our people from Livingston County are down there because we don't have a Livingston County chapter. Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct. There is a chapter just, Mike, to the east of you guys in the Milford area.
Absolutely.
But,
Yep.
but in living in where you're based out of Brighton, there isn't one. If you don't mind, how old was your cousin, Mike?
23, maybe.
Okay. So one of the things I always try to do before I speak or talk with someone like yourself is, and you've already answered the question, I always try to bring it back to this problem affects all of us, at least most of us.
Everyone.
But I always ask everybody when I'm speaking publicly, how many of you have been impacted by someone battling an addiction? Either a friend, a family member, an aunt, an uncle, a mom, a dad, a grandma, a grandpa, a cousin, whatever. And I will tell you, Mike, it's never less than 70, 80%.
Absolutely.
And yet, we don't talk about it much, like you're doing with me right now.
Right.
And the reason is because of the stigma associated with the disease. So, but you and I will get into that. So your question to me was, and I'm sorry for your loss, by the way. How long ago did that happen?
About 10 years.
Okay. So he wasn't much, he was a little younger than you?
Yes.
About
Yep.
Okay.
It was my
So-
dad's oldest brother's youngest son.
Yeah. So you asked about FAN. It was started, don't quote me on this, but probably around 14, 15 years ago. You
Okay.
talked about seeing into the future. Judge Linda Davis, who is now retired, she retired from the bench last year to really devote full-time efforts toward managing Families Against Narcotics, to put it, to create chapters in as many communities as possible throughout Michigan. But they were shocked over the same thing that happened to your cousin. And instead of doing nothing, there were a group of, grassroots, the judge, law enforcement, concerned parents who said, we got to do something about this. And they formed Families Against Narcotics. And by the way, Mike, don't let the name fool you. Even though it's narcotics, FAN doesn't discriminate, because the disease doesn't discriminate.
Absolutely.
So if you got if alcohol is your thing, FAN will help you. If weed is your thing, FAN will help you. If crack cocaine is your thing, FAN will help you. So it just started off as FAN, Families Against Narcotics, because of what was going on, what you just mentioned 14 years ago or 15 years ago with regard to those heroin overdoses in the Fraser community. So they started out, and they've since grown to, I think it's, by now 25 chapters across the state of Michigan, including the one that I co-founded with several other people in Washtenaw County. And they're, the goals are pretty straightforward. When this hits you as a family or a cousin like yourself, it comes out of left field oftentimes.
Absolutely.
And
Did.
because of the stigma associated with addiction, people don't talk about it. They don't know where to turn for resources as a result. And so people don't get the help they need. So one of the FAN goals is to connect families and people who have an addiction with the resources they need to begin to heal. That's one of the goals of FAN. Another goal is to help lower the stigma associated with the disease, so that this doesn't get swept under the rug. And you want to add something there, Mike?
Yeah, I just was going to say, I think that it's a stigma, right? It's one of those things that if take this conversation away from it, without the education behind what you're sharing with us today, right? There is that stigma out there of I'm an addict, or I'm a recovering addict, or whatever it may be, and it's kind of like alcoholism, right? Going into AA, like and again, it's not that somebody puts it. Well, I'm a graduate of AA on their resume, right? It's not something that's out there that is a positive. When, in my opinion, it should be. If you're able to battle these addictions in this disease and to be able to come out of it on the winning edge, that needs to be celebrated publicly, right? And so that's a hard thing to do when it has that negative stigma behind it.
One of the people, clinicians I know from the University of Michigan, physician by the name of Chris Blazes, who's an incredible guy. He used to be affiliated with UMAT, the University of Michigan Addiction Treatment Clinic, it's on the east side of Ann Arbor, Plymouth Road and US 23. And he told me more than once that the disease is so devastating that if you can get through it, and come through on the other side, you deserve to have your story shared, or to share your story so that others might learn that recovering is something that should be celebrated. So you're not the only one, and Dr. Blazes is an incredible physician, and he said that, so I'm with you on that one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, listen, don't go anywhere that are listening right now. We are going to come back with Mario Nanos of the Families Against Narcotics. And again, co-founded the chapter right out of Washtenaw County, right down the road from us here in Livingston County. And Mario, when we come back from break, I want to share the story because I think that this is going to be huge impact, folks that are listening, of how Mario got involved in this. And this is something that, again, it's a tough thing to talk about, but it's something that needs to be celebrated and to be able to change for a better. So don't go anywhere. We will come back right from the break and go into that story with Mario.
When times get tough, who do you have on your team? At Focus Financial Group, we win by helping you achieve the retirement you've always dreamed of. Clients who work with Focus Financial Group know they are backed by a solid, experienced, and winning team. It's time to choose your team. Choose the team from Focus Financial Group, a team of champions. Focus Financial Group, building our team to be a part of your team.
Well, folks, thanks for sticking with us here on the Here We Grow radio show. Right before the break, we were talking about recovery and the opportunities for people to be able to celebrate, their victories in this battle against, again, Mario, to your point, it's not just about narcotics. It's about weed, crack, cocaine, alcohol, whatever it may be that's out there. And, you said that when you pull the room, I was shocked that you didn't say 100% of the room, but, he said, folks out there, before he does any sort of public speaking, he asks the room, who in this room has been impacted to one degree or another? Raise your hand. And I'm thinking there's got to be everybody to one degree of, and again, maybe they don't look at it this way, Mario, of saying, hey, they had one too many beers the other day, or this, that, or the other. Like, oh, well, that's not bad. In my eyes, that is. So tell the people out there listening, because I know that this is powerful stuff, of how you got involved. Like you said, I think you said it was about 15 years ago, how you got involved with FAN.
Yeah. So, well, FAN was started 14 or 15 years ago.
Okay.
My involvement with them goes back around 4 to 3 years ago. So my son, Yanni, was an athlete, an amazing young guy, just like your cousin was, Mike. And he was had 2 modeling contracts, just looked like Tarzan. And he, little bit of background on this hopeless romantic young guy. His favorite movie was The Notebook. There aren't many guys who would even admit to that movie being their favorite movie, but that was Yanni's favorite movie. That's the kind of guy we're talking about. He was a AAA hockey player playing right there in Brighton, okay, at the ice rink that's about what, a mile from your office?
Literally. Yeah, yes, it's right down.
So he grew up playing there, became a AAA hockey player, loved hockey, injured both shoulders playing hockey. Graduated from high school, left to go to school at Central Michigan in Mount Pleasant. At that point, Mike, he is 19 years old. Mom and dad no longer have a right to know when he's talking with a physician. We didn't realize that those shoulders were not healed and that he was experiencing pain in those shoulders. He found a physician out there and in that area where he was going to school who wrote him a script for opioids. Within a very short period of time, he became addicted. He contacted several close friends and let them know that I got a problem. I'm addicted to these meds that the doctor gave me. They're very expensive, so I'm transitioning to heroin. Don't tell mom or dad. And for 9 months, none of them did. By that point, Yanni didn't look like Yanni. I found out by calling a few of his friends who finally told me that, Yanni had called and said, I'm addicted to heroin. He literally, Mike, told a few people that. And so it's the thing I want you to take away from this, Mike, is that on the one hand, you've got this logical thinking, I got a problem, okay? This is Yanni talking. And on the other hand, there's illogical thinking, which is what drugs do to your brain, okay?
Right.
It messes with your ability to think clearly. That's your frontal lobe. And on the other hand, you've got him saying, so I'm transitioning to heroin because it's cheaper. There's just, okay. To net this out for you, we found out and convinced Yanni, because he was an adult, he had to agree to help, and he wanted help. So we got him help. And he was the model person in recovery for 15 months. He was a sponsor to people at AA. He ran into someone who started using in front of him. It triggered him. He sent me a text message apologizing for relapsing. And we talked a little bit. He said, I've got this. Of course, he didn't have it, but he's in California and I'm in Michigan. And there's not much dad can do at that point. I got a call 2 or 3 days later from the San Diego Police Department that he was found dead alone in a hotel room. He died from a heroin overdose.
Holy moly.
So, Mike, one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing is because I had the money to afford the best care in the world for my son, and he's still dead.
Right.
Most people can't afford that kind of care. Most people don't know where to turn to get help. Most people sweep this under the rug because they're embarrassed. And I'm not going to do that. And I'm really proud of FAN because those are the things that they're helping families and people in recovery do. Get connected into resources, battle the stigma, and educate.
Well, first and foremost, Yanni sounds like him and I. I mean, we would have been buddies. I mean, athlete, right? I mean, just a heck of a kid. I'm a Chippewa myself. I went to Mount Pleasant. It's just as you're telling me this story, Mario, I'm like, it did poke into my mind. And again, you kind of said this at the end. Heroin, narcotics, alcohol, they don't care how much money you have. Don't care about how many gold medals or championships you've won. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, of how we get into how many professional athletes, right? To your point, they have unlimited resources. Not only do they have the money, but they have the resources, and it still comes after them because it starts with something, prescription drug, whatever it may be. That, again, and I hate to say this maybe from an uneducated background, but prescription drugs to a degree are somewhat acceptable. Oh, well, I got a bad shoulder, right? He hurt his shoulder. He's in pain. Doctor writes him the script, and that's socially accepted. You can go to a pharmacy, and your insurance will pay for it. I mean, it's
Mike, we're crazy. Washtenaw FAN, and some of the people on our board are making tremendous inroads toward educating not only physicians, but dentists. There's a board member, a guy on our board by the name of Dr. Chad Brummett from the University of Michigan. He heads up an organization called Michigan Open. Dr. Chad Brummett is one of the country's leading experts on the overprescription of opioids. And he educates across the United States, educates healthcare professionals that, you don't always have to script a Norco to extract a tooth or for abdominal surgery. There are other things that work just as effectively and don't have the addictive qualities that opioids have. So Chad is on it and he's making progress. The number of prescriptions being written is actually on the decrease, and there's a lot more visibility right now, Mike. So Dr. Brummett is on that, as are a lot of other people. But these are the kinds of things that Washtenaw FAN helps coordinate throughout the communities in which they operate and the communities they serve.
Well, and I know that's the mission of FAN, right? It's educate. So bring the education, bring the resources, and the support. I know that those are the three things really behind that. And again, I mean, the education, I think, is to me, I mean, in our business and finances, it's like educate yourself to make an informed decision about what you're going to do. And so, I think it all starts with education. Sounds like you guys have an abundance of resources. Tell us a little bit about both of those education and resources that are available to people out there listening right now.
Sure. So every month, on the second Monday of every month, we have what we call our Washtenaw FAN Family Forum meeting. And so we bring in a guest speaker who is typically an expert. Sometimes it's from healthcare. Sometimes it's just someone who has come through on the other side, like you said, because there's a lot of education that comes from people in recovery from sharing their story. And in fact, to that point, our last meeting was our best attended. We had over 100 registrants. It was just a week ago today. It was a panel discussion on collegiate recovery programs. So many colleges, universities, University of Michigan, Michigan State University, your alma mater, Washtenaw Community College, they have collegiate recovery programs where if you're struggling with a substance use disorder, you can become a part of a collegiate recovery program, and you don't have to go to school and drink or smoke weed, or you can hang out with people who will just want to go to a pizza parlor, okay, instead of getting high. So our meeting last Monday featured 5 people who have either participated in a collegiate recovery program or are actively involved in one. And it was awesome hearing these stories of recovery and how incredibly amazing these young people are. So that was a great meeting. So every month we have that kind of thing going on. We also have programs that we offer free of charge to anyone who needs it. People in recovery, the family of friends of people in recovery. Examples are virtual yoga for recovery, virtual exercise for recovery. If you want, Mike, I'll send you those. I'll get you a link to our website in the informational flyers.
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to ask is so for people out there that are listening right now, and they're saying, again, maybe it's them. Maybe we're talking to somebody right now that needs this themselves, which I'd love for this to be that deciding moment of them saying, okay, I'm ready. I'm raising my hand. I'm submitting to this. But it may also be a family member. And again, here we are talking about Yanni, talking about my cousin. I wouldn't have thought in a million years, and I know that you wouldn't. There's no way, right? You said you have every resource available, every financial resource, everything. You would have never thought this. So maybe somebody out there, like, this is that opportunity. This is that voice telling you to raise your hand. How can they get in touch with FAN anywhere out there? If it's your chapter or maybe a chapter near them, how do they go about doing that?
Just do what you did, Mike, and Google, Families Against Narcotics, Fraser, Michigan, or Washtenaw FAN. Each of those respective websites will come up. And I want to talk about a specific program, that is critically important, and a couple of programs. Corporate FAN launched a program called Hope Not Handcuffs. And it's been wildly successful, but it involves law enforcement. And what it is if you want help of any kind and you're battling an addiction, you reach out to FAN and say, I need help. They will connect you with an angel, which is a person who has been trained and educated on how to deal with this type of situation. The angel reaches out to you and coordinates care on your behalf at no cost.
That's awesome.
And one other thing I wanted to mention is there are breakthrough programs. There are a couple of these that are starting in our local communities. They're called QRTs, Quick Response Teams. And what they do is that, by and large, Mike, people with a substance use disorder don't raise their hand and say, I need help. And one of the reasons is due to the stigma. Another reason is what the drug does to their executive level functioning, their decision making. So you don't see people like your cousin raising his hand, if it was a male, and saying, Mike, will you drive out here to Linden and give me a hand? Because I really want to get better. That is the exception. So what QRT does is that there's a team of people that reach out to people where an overdose has taken place. They literally go to the house and knock on a door.
Really?
And it's a nurse, a member of clergy, okay, faith-based, member of law enforcement, plainclothes dressed police officer, and a peer. So someone in recovery who this person whose door you're knocking on can relate to that person. And the conversation goes like this. Hey, Mike, we found out that someone here overdosed living at this address. Was that you, Mike? And no, that wasn't me.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm Nurse Mary. This is Father James. This is Officer Mike. And this is Peer Janet. We're here from your community because we care. And if you could relay the message to whoever overdosed, exactly what we just told you, that we care. If they say they want to begin to heal, it's our job to connect them with the resources they need at no cost to be able to do exactly that. And by reaching out, instead of waiting for someone like your cousin to raise his hand and say, I could use some help.
Yes.
So they reach out instead. So again, quick response teams, it's an awesome program. And that's where the future is heading insofar as reaching out to people with a substance use disorder.
And that's, I wrote down in my notes, I said QRT. I mean, that's exactly what's needed, because you're right. It's the minority is going to raise their hand and say, okay, I submit, I need help. It's sometimes it's that little extra push of like, hey, we're all here. Let's just go, right? Type of deal. And to get that to that point. So I think, Mario, for what you're doing, to be able to share your story about Yanni and the phenomenal young man, I don't even know him, but I can hear in your voice how proud you are of him in the things that it's a legacy that he's been able to impact in others. So keep up the great work. I'll tell you, for those out there listening, Google search, right? Families Against Narcotics. And there's probably going to be a chapter in your backyard, because I mean, we don't have one in Brighton, but we got one in Milford. That's our backyard, right? So
Mike, they can reach out to us at Washtenaw Family.
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say. Anything else that you would like to kind of wrap things up? Again, if there's somebody out there listening to you or somebody get involved, give back. If hey, it's a family member and you're ready to help others, things you want to leave, I guess, the listening audience with today, Mario.
Just that don't wait for someone to raise their hand and say, I need help, because it doesn't happen often. And constantly be trying to reach out to folks who are struggling with this insidious disease, to let them know you care and that you support them, and that if they want help, you will help them get connected to those resources to begin to heal. And lastly, Mike, I will send you all the information. If you will share that with your listeners, we offer these virtual things, yoga, exercise, our meetings, they're all free.
Okay.
And so I'll get you that information, but we're here to help.
Absolutely. And folks out there listening, we will have it in our show notes. We'll have it on the Here We Go radio show website. We'll directly link them right to you guys and the resources, all that. So yes, folks out there listening, it's on our YouTube page, our Facebook page. It's on our website of all of these resources. So by the time you're listening to this, we've already linked all of those things out there for you, because the last thing we want to do is make this something that's not easy in access to get. So Mario, thank you so much for the time. I'm telling you, keep up the great work. You're making an impact in not only this community, but for just generations to come. So thank you so much for that.
You bet. Take care, Mike.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Here We Grow Show. To learn more about how we can help you and to get access to the resources mentioned on today's show, visit herewegrowshow.com. Also, don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes. Your reviews are the ways we reach more and more people each and every week. If you found today's episode helpful, you can bet there are others out there that would benefit from listening. Thanks again for taking the time to listen. Be sure to subscribe to easily access future and past episodes. Make sure to tune in next week for another great episode of the Here We Grow Show.
Investment advisory services offered through Grossman Capital Management, LLC, BCM, a registered investment advisor. BCM and Focus Financial are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BCM, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.